Streamline Doc is software for drug and alcohol testing companies. It reduces the workload on owners, managers, and your billing person, and ensures that you get paid for the work that you do. Most drug testing companies do a lot of transactions, such as multiple collections each day for large TPAs like eScreen, Quest, and others, in-house drug and alcohol tests for your clients, DNA tests, and various other services you provide your customers. When doing this many transactions and dealing with so many different companies and TPAs, it's important to have a streamlined system in place to ensure that, one, you get paid, two, the entire process is simple for your collector, the donor, and your billing person, three, that your billing person isn't required to enter test data into your invoices or perform calculations or is using a mess of Excel spreadsheets, which can result in errors. Four, that you're able to easily reconcile payments from eScreen and other TPAs who you don't bill, but rather they just cut you a check. And five, that every drug test, alcohol test, and billable service you perform is all contained in a searchable and secure HIPAA-compliant database for your office. Since the goal is to make sure you get paid for the work that you do, you first need a check-in form. We provide you with a sign for your lobby that says, check in. So when a donor walks in, he or she scans the QR code on the sign using their phone, and this check-in form pops up. They enter their name, maybe a phone number, and presto, they're checked in. This message is customizable, but typically it tells the donor they've been added to the wait list. This is your Streamline Doc interface. All donor names and company names here are fictional, since this is just our demo. When your staff is looking at today's tests, they see all of the tests that have been performed, whether in-office, mobile tests, or any other services. They can also see the donors who have checked in and are on the wait list. And of course, you can just enter an in-office or mobile test by simply clicking on one of these buttons, bypassing the whole check-in process. When it's time to take a donor back for their test, your staff would open the record, select the company, then select the service. Notice if you select a different company, that the list of services available to that company changes. This helps your staff know what service to offer rather than popping up a list of your entire list of hundreds of services and constantly asking their managers, what test do I perform for this company? Additionally, after you've selected a service, sometimes a special instruction pops up, like say you want to remind your staff to do something or provide them with a link to a form. Also notice on some companies like eScreen that an employer field pops up. This is because the company eScreen is a TPA, so we have a secondary company field, which we call the employer. But this is always the company getting the bill. So you select the company, the service, and if you have multiple locations, you would select the Locations tab. In our demo, we have multiple locations. You may not. And click Save. The entire process takes about 15 seconds. Then you take the donor back, perform their test like normal. Later in the day, if you like, you can enter the specimen IDs onto each test so they show up in your invoice detail. In our demo, we have it set to show a test as incomplete, meaning blue, if the specimen ID is missing. That's optional. And later, when it's time to send out invoices, your billing person would snap to the reports and billing interface. I'll explain that later. Let's go over each of Streamline Doc's features. You have a price list. It's a list of every service you offer. In our demo, we've populated ours with drug and alcohol tests, physicals, fit tests, various blood tests, DNA tests, pool fees, background checks, etc. You can have as many or as few services on your price list as you like. You can edit your price list on the company's page, here. This is the name of the service, its longer description, purely optional, the customer price, your cost, another optional field. And when the staff selects this service, these are the special instructions that can pop up. Let me show you another example of that. So here's an example of a special instruction that has links. This instruction would pop up, and these would be links to fillable PDFs, which you would upload on your forms page. Here's the lab, the test type, and we'll cover what this test type column does in a minute. This is the unique ID of each service. You can add lines, like if you wanted to add a line in between, you click here. And if you wanted to delete a line, you can click here. And of course, you can just save any edits you want to save. So here are all of your companies. You can specify which service each company gets here. These are the IDs from column 1 of your price list. So if you want to add a new service, like maybe a different type of drug test or a physical, etc., you would just go like this. And if you want to make a service have a custom price, in other words, not the price that's on the price list, you would just go /55 or something. And now they're getting that service for $55. If you decided you wanted to open up a whole range of services, like everything under training, occupational health, etc., then you could just go off the test type column on the price list. That's what this is. So I could say, give all background checks to this customer or open up all pool fees. And that's how you would do that rather than have to enter each ID one at a time here. And here you can set a company. So they must prepay at the time of service. You can show the prepay option by clicking here, and you can require a prepay here. And here's where you can enable, meaning show the employer field, or require the employer field depopulated. And over here are the direct observation and form modification prices that you would charge this client. You can edit these here. And here's where you can set up any custom fields or calculators for mobile tests. For example, if you got the contract for testing TSA and FAA employees or some other contract that had a more complex billing structure where you needed to have different fields and do custom calculations, this is where we can set that up, and we would do it for you at no charge. We covered this a bit earlier in the video, but this button here lets you enter your in-office tests. Really, it lets you select any service from your price list, so not just drug and alcohol tests. And this button here is for entering your mobile tests. Let's open a few existing mobile tests. So you would have selected your company name. And of course, some companies will have that employer field we covered, some won't. You'll enter your donors here. This individual, John Smith, received a drug test. And this one, Tom Smith, received an alcohol test. Now, here's a parking fee, so we would have selected O for other. And whatever you enter here, it adds to the total at the bottom. And of course, your start and end dates and times affect that. So if you would have started earlier, for example, that number would have increased, as would the price. I should note that here in our demo, we've set mobile testing to a flat hourly rate. That's why this affects the calculation at the bottom of the page. You may do it differently, and that's fine. Streamline can be set to your liking. We can also add custom fields. Additionally, you can use Streamline Doc to schedule your mobile tests. So you would have created a mobile test, you would have entered maybe the start date and time, but you would have left the end time blank. So when your collector is done, he would have filled it out, and presto, the test would complete. So this test would show up highlighted in blue on the prior page until it is completed. Let's look at another example. Here's a mobile test with custom fields and calculations. Here the custom fields have been added, and here's a preview of that calculation. We can add custom fields and custom calculators to handle different situations. Let's look at how Streamline Doc helps you invoice. So once or twice a month, your billing person would search for a given month and year, then click Reports and Billing. Here you can see all the companies we need to invoice. So say we wanted to send an invoice to this company, Engage Systems. There are 5 items: a few drug test collections, a breath alcohol test, a vaccine, and a TB test. First, we need to lock each test, either by clicking here to lock all of them, or just locking them individually like this. And by the way, when we lock a test, your staff can't unlock it. They no longer can make any changes to it. Only admin can unlock a test. Now we can refresh the page to see the total. Now that all tests are locked, here's the total. Now you create an invoice for $315 in your billing program, QuickBooks, or whatever you use. Take the QuickBooks invoice number, and let's pretend it's invoice number 3333. We would put it here and click here. Presto, invoice number 3333 has been assigned to all of these tests. Next, you save this page as a PDF and attach the PDF to your QuickBooks invoice. So now these tests are all locked and they've been assigned an invoice number. You're done. By putting an invoice number on a test, that means it's in your billing program, so you no longer need to worry about it. Once the test is locked and with an invoice number, that's it. Now let's look at another company, Rhapsody Networks. Invoice detail for this company has 9 items, and 1 is a mobile test. Or let's look at Country Road Transport, which has 12 items in it, and all are mobile tests. Notice all of the detail. And remember, all of this detail was entered by your staff when the test occurred, not by your billing person, simplifying the entire billing process. Let's look at a few other things in Streamline Doc. So Streamline Doc has a control panel. And we covered how to prepare an invoice detail for your invoices. But what if the client is eScreen, for example? We don't invoice eScreen, they just cut you a check. So how does Streamline Doc handle that? Well, in the control panel, you have an invoice tool, which helps you reconcile payments from TPAs like eScreen. When eScreen sends you a payment, it comes with a detail sheet listing the services, including donor names they're paying you for. So you either insert the check number, the invoice number that you create in QuickBooks, or some other number associated with that payment into the system using this invoice tool. And just like in the prior examples, when we prepared the invoice detail, these eScreen tests will be locked and assigned an invoice or payment number so you can check them off as done. Also in the control panel, which is only accessible to admins, by the way, you can set your mobile prices. You can also back up your files. We back up your files daily, but you may want to back up your files every now and then too. We mentioned earlier that Streamline Doc has a forms page where you can upload your PDFs. That's right here. You can make links to these PDFs pop up in the special instructions area when your staff is entering a test. Streamline Doc lets you set up your staff members with different levels of access. For example, I'm a super admin. Users can change their passwords, and FYI, when logging in, Streamline Doc uses 2-factor authentication. You can even set it so certain employees, such as mobile collectors, can log in from the field, while other employees can only log in from your office computers. There's an FAQ and a training videos page answering any questions you may have. You can search by day, by month, or by year. And you can use these buttons to snap to the next or previous days. Here's a link to snap to today's date. You can search by all words, just for the company, or test ID, or all tests using a service ID found on your price list. You can limit your searches to just mobile tests or to unlocked tests, which is useful if you're trying to audit to see what you forgot to invoice, or if a company like eScreen forgot to pay you for some tests, which happens. So that's Streamline Doc. If you'd like to sign up or have questions, please contact us through our website at www.streamlinedoc.com or give us a call. Thank you.